Welcome, everyone. Are we all set? This meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Annual notice of this meeting was provided to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on January 5th, 2022, and was posted on the Borough website at www.hpboro.com and on the bulletin board at Borough Hall, 221 South Fifth Avenue, Highland Park, New Jersey, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. Fire exits are to my left and right of the council chambers. Please speak into the microphone if you come up to comment. As mayor, I preside over this council meeting and may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant statement or participation in the meeting if the participant statement does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided to each participant for public comment, or if the statement is disruptive to the orderly conduct of this public meeting, or is repetitive or not on a topic that is relevant to the governing body. Okay. Let's see. Diane, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Borough.
Here.
Councilwoman Canavera.
Here.
Councilwoman Foster.
Here.
Councilman George.
Here.
Councilman Hale.
Here.
Councilmember Hirsch.
Here.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan. Borough Attorney Schmier.
Here.
Borough Administrator Hover.
Here.
Council members, are there any questions on the agenda for this evening?
No, ma'am.
Nope. Okay, thank you. We've all witnessed and lived through some tragedies over the last couple of weeks, and I was honored to hear or read a poem that I've asked Austin Moriale to share with us this evening. Austin, as you may or may not know, is one of the co-chairs of our Human Relations Commission. Austin, would you share your poem with us, please?
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you for asking me and inviting me to read. Before I share the poem, I just want to have a quick introduction to the poem. As the mayor said, I am the co-chair of the Human Relations Commission of Highland Park, and I'm also a proud out transgender man. Last Friday, the HRC collaborated with staff and volunteers from the Pride Center to hold a vigil to commemorate the lives lost during the Colorado Springs shooting at the Club Q. I lived in Atlanta, Georgia from 1994 to 2010 before I transitioned. And while I lived there, I spent a good deal of my free time in my 20s and pretty much all of my free time in my 30s in gay bars. Most of those hours were spent at a bar a dear friend of mine owned called My Sister's Room, which you might be able to tell by the name was a bar mostly frequented by lesbians. And of all the nights I spent at My Sister's Room and other gay bars in Atlanta, not once did I head into my evening thinking that my friends or I might be shot for being queer while we were out that night. Even after the Olympic Park bomber, Eric Rudolph, set a bomb off in 1997 at another lesbian bar in town, there was a brief period when the community was extra cautious, but things were back to business as usual at the bars pretty quickly. We didn't go to the bar thinking that someone might walk in with a gun and open fire on the crowd. We went to the bar to be with friends and chosen family, to be part of a community. Some women who weren't out yet went there because it was the only place they felt comfortable and safe to hold their girlfriend's hand. We went to the bar with hopes of falling in love, or at least hooking up. We went to the bar with hopes of meeting a new girlfriend there, and with hopes that we wouldn't bump into an old one. We went to celebrate the beautifully chaotic, laughter-laden, powerful, proud community of which we are a part. We did not go there to die. June 2016, Saturday night, I was out in Highland Park celebrating a friend's birthday. Woke up to the news that 49 lives had been lost at the Pulse shooting in Orlando. A couple of weeks ago, was out celebrating my wife's birthday and woke up to the news that about the shooting in Colorado Springs. After this Pulse shooting, I started the poem that I'm about to read, and it honestly took me, I would say, 3 or 4 years to get to the point where I actually could sit down and really finish it to the point that I was happy with. And the very sad thing is that except for the number of victims that are referenced in this poem, word for word, it works and applies to both of the shootings. And the poem is called "To Die on a Saturday Night." If we were going to die on a Saturday night, it was going to be behind the wheel of a 93 Saturn swerving off the road, not barricaded behind a bathroom door texting our last words home. If we were going to die on a Saturday night, it was going to be an overly dramatic, drawn-out death from a broken heart, not the immediate execution of an assault rifle's staccato pop, pop, pop. If we were going to die on a Saturday night, it was going to be feeling the lingering lips of a stranger as they took our breath away, not growing numb as a friend's palms pumped our crimson chests, trying to keep life from slipping away 47, 48, 49 times. If we were going to die on a Saturday night, it was going to be from love. Thank you.
As you said, Austin, that one of the saddest parts of this situation is that poem written for several years ago aptly represents what happened just recently. Thank you. All right, we're going to go to our council reports. Tonight I'm going to start on my right with Councilman Hale. Do you have a report?
I do, Madam Mayor. I do. Austin, thank you very much for that poem. It's very meaningful. So, on other matters, the snowflakes are up. The snowflakes are up. If you haven't seen them, the new snowflakes are up on Woodbridge Avenue. We've had snowflakes up for the winter season on Raritan Avenue, but because of an MPP grant and hard work by folks at Main Street and elsewhere, now we've put the lights up all the way up Woodbridge Avenue, and I think it's fantastic to just sort of see the whole stretch of Highland Park come on up. So drive down Woodbridge Avenue, and while you're there, stop at any of the businesses and get whatever you need. But the lights are up, so it's fantastic. So. I also wanted to say that a thank you. We're going to hear a little bit from HP Gives a Hoot. I used to be the council liaison to them. They do some fantastic work, and I really wanted to appreciate them. There's a lot of things that are going on tonight that I wanted to just touch on real quick. We're going to go to the public plaza, which is something we've been talking about for quite some time. I know there's some concerns that have been raised up on Facebook. I think Terry's going to talk about those, some of the conversations we've been having recently about that. We also have a rent control ordinance, and I'm really, really excited about that, kicking that off, and that's happening tonight. I can't tell you how many times I've heard some horrible stories from renters about things that are going on, and I'm hopeful that we can move ahead with that. I was lucky enough this week to attend the Downtown New Jersey Conference, which is a conference about how to revitalize downtowns from experts all up and down the state. And what was exciting to me is how many of the things that we're doing in Highland Park are things that are being recommended all over the place. Whether it's housing density, parking, scooters, public spaces, private, rent control, you name it. And there's a lot of things that, that we're doing that other municipalities are doing. And whether we're leading or following, I just think I want to give a shout out to our economic director, development director, Terry, because we really seem to be right on the right page with what's going on in the cutting edge of the state. So I was really excited to see that. Later this week, on Thursday night, the planning board is going to be holding a hearing about the area in need of redevelopment around Stop and Shop. Again, another exciting opportunity for us to make sure that we have a grocery store, do everything we can to have a grocery store. Having redevelopment tools in the mix, I think, is a great thing. There's a lot of moving parts with the Stop and Shop, but this is an important one. So I wanted to thank the council and then also point out that that's going to be at the planning board. There's a bunch of different people who've been interested, obviously, with Stop and Shop. And I just wanted to call out a couple that have sort of jumped in and provided help and volunteer service, provided data, provided information, and that all goes into the mix as we're sort of doing our best. But Aaron Weisman, Mark Russo, Jeremy Renna, Khalidra Hadhazi have all brought different ideas and thoughts, and it's really exciting when you have volunteers who are willing to come in and say, let's try and figure out what the best thing to do is. So that's, it feels like sometimes it takes a village to build a village. So I wanted to say thanks for that. In terms of other events, Main Street is having a menorah lighting on May 18th. I'm sorry. Yes, that would not work. December 18th. I don't know why I said May 18th, but yes, December 18th, in front of the Main Street offices at about 4:15. So come on out and see a giant menorah get lit and have a lot of donuts because there will be plenty of sufganiyot. So. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, please always remember during this holiday season to do everything you can to shop local, to go to the farmer's market. We've got a couple more of those on Fridays, and the Night Owl Market will be again on December 17th. So our merchants need you now especially. So if you can make sure to make some of your purchases in our local shops and restaurants, this is the time where they could really use it. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilwoman, do you have a report?
Yes. December is National Human Rights Month. It is a time to spread the word about the importance of treating everyone around us with respect, dignity, and kindness, no matter their gender, age, race, religion, political views, or social status. National Human Rights Month is about acknowledging that people are people, plain and simple. The Board of Health would like to remind people that COVID is still here, along with the flu. Please consider getting vaccinated if you have not, or getting your booster. They would also like to remind you that e-cigarettes are just as dangerous as smoking. For help quitting, go to the website www.njquitline.org. Food insecurity is still high. We have 2 programs to help. The Community Food Pantry, open the 2nd and 4th Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10:45 a.m. and 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturday 9:30 to 10:30 a.m. following the 2nd and 4th Thursday of every month. Donations can be made using their Amazon wish list. HP Gives a Hoot Food Pantry has a food pantry every Tuesday at 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Donations can be made by mailing a check to the Borough Hall with a memo that is for the HP Gives a Hoot. Raising food prices are creating a bigger demand than ever. The Mental Health Commission wants to, as always, remind you that help is within reach, and if you are in a crisis, please reach out. Rutgers Behavioral Health hotline is 855-515-5700. Raritan Bay Medical Center hotline is 732-442-3794, or you can always text the word HOME, HOME, to 741-741. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Canavera. All right, Councilwoman Foster, do you have a report?
Yes, Mayor. It's good to be back. It feels good to be sitting in here again. I also want to echo that the snowflakes are really, really, really good on Woodbridge Avenue. And as I was coming in tonight, I was like, yay! We finally feel like the complete Highland Park now. So Woodbridge Avenue looks good. Thank you, NPP Grant and Councilmember Hale. Police Department. This week we welcome a new police officer into the police department, and his name is Officer Sampson. So if you see our new police officer around, just say hello. And on that note, we are looking for dispatchers. We have 2 openings. We're looking for another police officer and also a dispatcher. So if anyone who knows of anyone or anyone who's interested, please reach out to the police department. They'll be happy to talk to you, hear from you, and get you all signed up, I guess. Pedestrian safety. There has been a lot of emails that I have received in the past couple of weeks where people are concerned. They want to talk about the pedestrian safety, the bike plan, and everything else. Next week, Tuesday, the Public Safety Committee will be meeting. We do have a pedestrian safety plan, and we will be working on that plan, and we'll follow up with some of the emails that we have received, and we'll keep everyone informed of what's going on as we plan to roll out the various phases of keeping us all safe in town. It could be road control. People are suggesting that we do stripings and all that. We started. There's a lot more work to be done, so bear with us, and we'll keep you informed step by step. Another great note is that dealing with public safety, this week we received a grant from the Department of Community Service for $31,000, a firefighter grant, and that grant will go towards turnout gear for the fire department, EMS supplies, and all kind of safe, everything to keep our firefighters safe. So that grant is there for keeping the area sanitized and everyone staying safe while they're on duty, while they volunteer and serve our towns. Last but not least is the Teen Center. Zone 16 Center, they are accepting new toys. And there is a great need, as everyone knows, cost of everything has gone through the roof. And they're looking for new toys, clothes, electronics from now until December 20th. And that can be dropped off at the Zone 16 Center. Or for more information, you can contact Ashton Burrell, and it's aburrell@hpborough.com. That's my report. Thank you all so much.
Thank
Mayor.
you, Councilwoman. Councilman Hirsch, do you have a report?
Thank you, Mayor. Just very briefly. Hi, everybody. My name is Matthew Hirsch. I chair the Borough's Arts and Recreation Committee. Today is the last day to register for 5th and 6th grade youth basketball. Starting tomorrow, there'll be a $15 late fee. I hate announcing punitive things like that. And registrations will be only accepted if space is available. Please register at highlandparkrec.com. We're also hiring part-time referees, scorekeepers, and sports clinic helpers for winter and spring sports programs. There's a lot of opportunities there. Please apply at www.hpboro.com. The Highland Park Artist Collective will host an art reception in the meeting room at the Highland Park Public Library on Sunday, December 11th from 2 to 4 p.m. The artists invite you to get to know them, enjoy door prizes, and light refreshments. Thank you to Council President Phil George for your participation in that effort. And while I'm looking over at you, I just wanted to, I neglected to mention last time, but congratulations to Council President Phil George and Councilman Matt Hale on their re-election. And please join us for their swearing in on January 3rd at our reorganization meeting. That's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one other thing. I just wanted to thank Austin for reciting your poem. It's felt extremely deeply. I want to just communicate that with you and the efforts that you have done and the showing of support. And I deeply apologize for not being at the at the vigil on Friday, but is deeply felt by the council, and I think we are all profoundly impacted by what's been going on. So thank you for being here. And look, and I just public places like council chambers and other public places need to be places of safe spaces. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, Borough Administrator, do you have a report?
Sure, but do you want to ask the Council President first, usually?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Council President, do you have a report?
I even wore a nice suit and everything, and I still don't get any credit. Just briefly, Mayor, thank you very much, and thank you, Councilman Hirsch. and the snowflakes are great. I was walking Woodbridge looking at some of the other matters going on up there for the art collective. It looks fantastic, and it ties the whole town together for a change. Excellent. DPW wishes to let everybody know that we, although it's on the website, that we may be doing the last leaf collection because of the weird weather and the fact that leaves are still falling. We will do a couple more Wednesday leaf pickups, so don't despair. We'll hopefully get everything this time around. And also good news on the Raritan Avenue down Business District commercial pickup. The toters are on order. It will take 6 to 8 weeks for them to come in and be assembled. What nobody seems to know is all 300 of them will come in big boxes, and we have to assemble them all. So that takes a while. It's not the easiest thing in the world. But I spoke to the superintendent this morning. The route is laid out. The crews are scheduled. It's worked into the schedule, so we can use the one-armed garbage trucks to do the work and pick it up fairly quickly and get the business district done before everybody wakes up and gets started. So that's on the way. The Sustainable Highland Park is busy working on their background and the leaf blower ordinance. I'm hoping we should have it in shape to go to Public Works in January, and then we can move forward and see where we are with it. I don't want to call it necessarily controversial, but the technology has been changing rapidly with regard to electric machines, so I think it's going to be a very spirited discussion and debate, but they're working on the background to the most modern machines. Finally, the Environmental Commission will meet tomorrow night. It is a Zoom link, but the Zoom link's available. They'll be continuing to meet on Zoom, and it'll be the last meeting of the year for the Environmental Commission. One of the topics, again, is the leaf blower, and we'll be talking about some general projects for the coming year, and that's my report.
Thank you, and it was a wonderful report. I'm glad I remembered to ask you for it.
I'm glad you remembered too. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes,
I forgot something for my report.
you may add it before we go on.
I just wanted to remind any residents who have Medicare that tomorrow is the last day for open enrollment. So if you need to change your plan, because some plans are ending, they're no longer available in our area, so please make sure you check and make sure you get it done by tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, that's important. Councilwoman, you wanted to...
I have a question for Councilmember George. Are they still giving away free recyclable bags for the leaves?
I believe there's some left, but I can let you know first thing in the morning by
But
email.
the program is still going on.
Yeah, the collection's still going on. I think there's still some left. I'm not positive.
Thank you.
Okay, now, the long-awaited Borough Administrator.
For my amazing
report.
report. I just had 2 items, thanks, Mayor. One is a reminder, and talk about not liking to bring this kind of news, but the water bills are out, and hopefully you received yours, and I'm pleased to report that the e-bill email spam issue, for those of you who got e-bills, they were ending up in everybody's spam folder, I believe has been resolved, but I'm reminding those who have signed up for e-bills to do check your inboxes for it. If you can't find it, either contact the office or go online and you can look up your bill that way. But they're due on the 30th of the month, and I just remind you because I know the holidays are a busy time and the quarterly bills are hard to keep on top of. The other item I wanted to let everybody know about was we've had an unfortunate delay in one of our road projects, the one concerning portion of South First from Johnson to Valentine, South 10th from Raritan to Woodbridge, North 10th from Abbott to Raritan, Alcazar from Central to Cherry, and Lexington from Borough to Raritan. Those of you who live in those areas directly impacted by this project would have gotten, we're getting started, letters from our engineering firm, CME. Unfortunately, we've had some issues, the contractors run into some issues, and given the time of year, it's just not prudent to push ahead on the road project at this time. But I can assure you, we will be resuming in the spring, so the roads will get addressed. We're just delayed a bit. And I would also just add, we have asked Public Works to do a drive-through to make sure any potholes that may have been kind of left standing knowing the road project was coming through, get addressed before the nasty weather begins this winter. So unfortunate to report that, but I want to assure everybody those roads will be addressed in the spring. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Borough Attorney, do you have a report?
No report, Madam Mayor.
All right. I do have a report. When residents ask me what is one of my top concerns for Highland Park as we approach the new year of 2023, I say it is the imminent loss of an anchor of our community, the Stop and Shop grocery on Raritan Avenue. The store's plans to close in early 2023 will have a difficult impact on many of our residents. I'm thinking especially of our seniors and those who don't have cars, as well as those residents who prefer to reduce their carbon footprint by walking to go shopping. It will also affect people who are returning to town after a full day of work and need a reliable place to get that loaf of bread, that carton of milk, that basket of vegetables, or other supplies at affordable prices for their homes. This closure will affect us all. Rest assured that we are exploring all viable contingencies. I've spoken a few times with the New Jersey Food Council, as has our borough administrator. The Food Council is an alliance of food retailers and their suppliers who have been generous with their time and advice to us. We've been communicating with the property owners of the Stop and Shop building and lot. We're also looking into interim measures to ensure that our residents have access to other nearby supermarkets. I will keep you all updated in the near future when we have details to share with you. Until then, please know that we are working on it as a top priority. Because these are important facts, they bear repeating. I will reiterate comments made by Councilman Hale and the Borough Administrator Redevelopment Director, Terry Hover, regarding the planned relocation of our farmers market. We are working closely with our Main Street Highland Park on the most optimum setup for this once-a-week event. For the residents who have expressed concerns about the Yellow Brick Road Nursery and Daycare Center housed on South 3rd Avenue, this business has been a mainstay in Highland Park for decades. In fact, my daughter was one of the first daycare center's students. Terry Hover, in her capacity as redevelopment director, has been in contact with Sandy, the owner of the daycare, to ensure that she is aware of any discussions or plans for the area. There are a lot of moving parts here. Know that we are working closely with Main Street Highland Park, and many details still need to be addressed. And we will certainly take the concerns of parents of Yellow Brick Road and others seriously. The holiday season has arrived in Highland Park, and I want to echo the exhortations of Main Street Highland Park to shop locally, as Councilman Hale advised. For we have so many creative gifts, ideas, and cozy locations to dine with friends. I've found innovative, endearing, and amusing items at Robert's Florals, Pino's, Rite Aid, Gem's Galleria, Locals Only, Local Bike Shop, Burns Chocolates, Ellen Kahn Greek Market, and other locations in town. You can find lots of options right here in Highland Park and save yourself from getting lost in the mall or in a big box store, while also contributing to our local community. As someone who avidly follows the news, I can tell you that I'm seeing two things that deeply concern me. One is a years-long rising tide of public expressions of hatred. It's become acceptable for some people to channel their frustrations of life into open expressions of contempt for distrust and disdain for anyone who differs from them. The other thing is a growing fear among members of several of our groups here, our LGBTQ plus community, our observant Jewish community, our Asian community, and our African American community, that the hatred they are seeing in national news will find ways to residents into our borough. Let me be clear on this point. Hate has no home here. It's not merely an idealistic meme in Highland Park. It's a guiding principle and a firm commitment. Our police department has taken a number of steps to monitor developments in this area regionally and to promptly investigate any incidents in our borders. They take great pains to listen to any resident with concerns and to demonstrate sensitivity to different backgrounds and lifestyles. I cannot emphasize enough, if you see or hear something, say something. And I want to thank our police chief and the entire department for their vigilance. Our Human Relations Commission has held a number of activities to highlight the history and concerns of different groups. They are currently exploring ideas for the new year and invite residents who are interested in building bridges between groups to join the commission. If this work appeals to you, please contact our Public Information Officer, Harry Glazer, at hglazer, Glazer, at hpborough.com for more information on how to volunteer and get a volunteer form off our website. Our public schools also invest a lot of effort in honoring our differences. They have held programming and staff training that prizes sensitivity and respect and discourages dysfunctional behavior. Our schools are an oasis of community building. And your mayor and council are dedicated to doing what we can to sanction the perpetrators of acts of hatred and to create an environment where such actions are considered unfashionable and unconscionable and unwelcome. Thank you. Okay, we're about to go into our first public comment session. Total time allotted is 21 minutes, 3 minutes maximum per speaker. Comments are limited to items on the agenda. If you wish to speak on an item that is not listed, please do so at the second public comment session later in the meeting. The borough clerk will monitor the time and indicate when 3 minutes has lapsed. She will give you a warning when 30 seconds are remaining. There will be a hard stop at the 3-minute mark to make sure everyone has time to speak. As a reminder, I may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement if it does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided, or if the statement is disruptive to the orderly conduct of this public meeting, is repetitive, or not a topic that is relevant to the borough's governing body. Please announce your name and address for the record and speak into the microphone if you come up to speak. Does anybody have any comments?
Can you hear me even with my mask on? Okay, Peter Spruill, I'm at 146 Graham Street here in Highland Park. I think I'll take it over. I want to speak to something that's relevant to the ordinance, the proposed ordinance that's on the agenda next. And what I want to do is I want to remind you all of some items that are in the 2019 Highland Park Master Plan reexamination. So that's only 3 years ago. And then ask a question that relates to the proposed ordinance. So on page 55, there's an item entitled Activate Place Making, and mentioned that the public had multiple opportunities to participate in the master plan process, and that respondents to the online survey ranked a town square public space as the top choice among features and activities that would make them come downtown more often. That was their top choice. On page 49, it says, implement the Borough Square project, including a public gathering space promoting arts programming in the heart of downtown that provides a focus for civic engagement. And on page 48, an item entitled Include Public Spaces says, provide larger public gathering spaces. Now, larger is a relative term. It's relative to something else. So this case clearly compares that to the current public space on Tract C. So making a proposed substitute, the pedestrian mall, for the current public space on Tract C does not fulfill this goal. You can go ahead and do that, but you won't be carrying out that goal. So here's my question. So what are you planning in the way of a larger public space? Where and when?
Okay. Borough Administrator, Redevelopment Director, would you like to address that?
I'll just, I haven't looked at those citations in the last month or two, but I will say I see it differently, and I think the general way I would look at it is, right now, the public square that's currently there is basically where that pavilion is most of the time, and it's a parking lot, with the exception on the days where we have farmers market and other programming there. So in my mind, moving, and I wasn't thinking of it in this way at all until you raised it, South Third, you could argue, as a permanent space, will be larger and better utilized. And can accommodate, and that's some of what I know has caused some concern and questions, is on the larger farmers market days, how are we going to handle all the various needs and of all the different stakeholders? But we believe it can, and with the properties we have available. So I'm not suggesting that it was an exact straight line to a larger plaza, but I do think one can make a case this is fulfilling the goals that we set forth in that reexamination report.
Well, that's a disappointment.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you for that last comment, sorry.
I said that's a disappointment. To me, this is a bait and switch.
I don't think we've given up on public spaces in other locations as well.
Okay.
So, sorry.
A large one.
Councilman Hale, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I totally agree with the Borough Administrator that I think that the public plaza is absolutely meets the goals of the master plan. It is a central place. It's one that we can have a great deal of control over, a great deal of more opportunities than less opportunities. And I think that that's what we've been talking about for quite some time. And I think the public plaza meets all of those requirements.
Okay, thank you. Hi, please state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Lucinda Holt. I live at 501 Raritan Avenue. I just wanted to thank the council for moving quickly on the rent control ordinance. That's greatly appreciated. And my question is, when would this go into effect if it passes on the 20th? I wasn't sure the process was.
Borough Attorney, do you have the exact date that the rent control ordinance would go into effect if we pass it?
Well, the ordinance, as originally drafted, would have it go into effect January 1st, 2023. However, I believe the Borough Administrator has suggested we move that up to be a little bit sooner than that so that everybody can gear up for the 1st. So it may be after we publish it this week, it will be in effect.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Diane Hoffman, I live at 58 Harrison Avenue. I just want to address the traffic flow that's going to result as the proposed closure of South 3rd Avenue, the first part of South 3rd Avenue. Have you taken in consideration what in Highland Park standards is the massive development of Cleveland Avenue? There's going to be a new school opening in the near future that's going to require school buses, drop-offs, pickups. Already there are 6 new houses that have been built along Cleveland Avenue in addition to the total massive development of the property that belonged at one point to Bernie Gross. And what we're seeing on Harrison Avenue is an incredible influx of traffic. People have discovered that you can cut through and avoid the traffic light at Raritan and River Road by coming up either Harrison Avenue or Cleveland Avenue and coming down 2nd Avenue. And so my point is that 2nd Avenue is going to have an enormous influx of traffic. If 3rd Avenue is closed for crosstown traffic, there's going to be even more backup on 2nd Avenue. 4th Avenue does not permit a left turn. You can go straight through. But anybody who knows they want to make a left turn will go to 2nd or 3rd. So I'm concerned about the backup on 2nd Avenue. The lights are short because of Raritan Avenue having a longer light to traverse the state highway. And a lot of people make left turns. There's pedestrians crossing. It's just going to be a considerable bottleneck. And I wonder if you have given any consideration to revamping traffic flow and making it more comfortable for the residents of Harrison, Cleveland, Grant, Lawrence, where now we're seeing an enormous increase in traffic. Thank you.
So just a couple of things. So you know that South 3rd Avenue has been closed for quite some time already.
Yes, and it was very inconvenient,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay. One of the things we could do, Chief, has your traffic department looked into increased traffic in the areas that Ms. Hoffman has just mentioned?
No, we haven't. So we can do temporary stops and look at the traffic that way, but for a full traffic study like that, something like that would be good for the engineer's office. We can predict, we're going to close the road for 2 or 3 days, that kind of thing. So the engineers will come up with a plan. Once it's where it needs to be and it's safe and it's good, then we will enforce the rules that are put in place by that.
All right, well, let's, with the Public Safety Committee Chair, have a discussion about some of the things we could do before we get involved in a major CME analysis. Okay, thank you, Diane.
Hi, my name is Debbie Gerber. I live on 10 South 3rd Avenue, have for 19 years. I wanted to know if the council has taken into consideration those people who live there. There are people who live there and who are experiencing great disturbance by the amount of people that were there. There's an enormous amount of garbage. One of my other neighbors brought that up. There's noise late at night, and there is no one to, and sometimes after midnight, there were people still gathering and making noise and laughing and talking at the tables during the summer when the street was closed. There was no sign at Magnolia to say no outlet. That must be on the agenda because there were constantly cars turning in my driveway right there, the large driveway. They were always turning around because they didn't realize the street was closed. There was no sign until very late in the summer. So it was difficult also for their daycare children, as you've mentioned. There are music school students coming and going in that music school. So there are a lot of people that have to come down there to park and to drop off kids or to have access to that. And I'm not sure if I'm understanding, is the farmer's market also going to be there in that space? It's much smaller than where the farmer's market is now. And I just wanted to mention one more thing. To the point of pedestrian safety. My brother was hit 2 months ago as he walked in the crosswalk at the green light, heading towards the Provident Bank on Raritan Avenue. So there is need to be better signage and people taking care of the pedestrians that walk on the street.
Okay, thank you. I do want to iterate something that the borough administrator alluded to when she gave her report in the area. There is the closure of part of South Third that currently exists. There are also two other properties right there that the borough owns, which is the parking lot next to the daycare center and the house next to it. So as we move forward and start thinking about what amounts of space are there and what's the best use of these things, we're nowhere near that now, but those properties would also be included in what we're talking about.
When is this proposal supposed to take place?
Well, we're still gathering information. I don't know if you have a time frame from CME about some of the work they're doing.
So we're in the process of applying for so to do a pedestrian mall, or we like to call it a public plaza. Pedestrian mall is a term from the statute that authorizes this kind of thing. The DOT has been guiding us through this process. They've indicated we need the ordinance, which is what's on the agenda tonight, as well as a street intersection permit, which we are in the process of filing for. I have a draft from our engineer's office, and we're going through that, and we hope to submit. We anticipate comments, but among the things that will have to be addressed are signage. So to your point about Magnolia Street, you're not the first resident on 3rd who's raised that concern, and I hear you. But then the plan from there is to engage a landscape design professional team to meet with us to identify all the needs that we have. All the concerns that you've raised are ones that are already in the hopper, so to speak, as something we have to address with whatever the final design is. Garbage, snow removal, you name it, because we know the temporary closures didn't do that adequately, but they were what we could do in a pinch.
Right.
So we will have an opportunity to work with design professionals where we can kind of put out all the things that we know we've got to do and balance all the needs. So I'm not going to say it's going to be, perfect for you, but we're going to try to address as many of those concerns, as well as things like what do we do, what are the hours of this space? That's a really good point. How are we going to, and so this team will guide us through a process of what does Main Street need for the farmer's market? What does Yellow Brick need for pickup and drop off? What do you need to get into and out of your property? Those are the things, especially with the immediate neighbors, we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and work through, but we're confident we can find optimal solutions for those things. But that's going to be as a separate step, because that's not an expensive effort, and we want to make sure that DOT is going to at least allow for the closure before we do a full-on design of that space. So that's kind of a roadmap, and what I would offer you as well, we do have an FAQ on our website that addresses some of those points, so I'd encourage anybody who hasn't had a chance to look at it, and I'm happy to, you can email me and I'm happy to just send it to you, because I think some of those points that you raised are in there, but you raised some new ones for me that I hadn't thought about, so I do appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Grace Mary Smolowitz, and I live at Riverview Avenue, 245, which is actually the corner of 3rd Avenue and Riverview Avenue. Okay. And I actually had written some concerns a couple of months ago about traffic, and I really think that attention has to be paid to the traffic patterns that are in Highland Park, on Valentine, going to 2nd Avenue, and how the park is used, because parents drop off their children for camps, for all kinds of programs, baseball, soccer, and this would, closing the top part of 3rd Avenue, which was only closed for a period of time during the pandemic, and we actually found it very inconvenient. Most of our neighbors found it very inconvenient, but aside from that, because it's not just about our convenience, but it's about how much traffic there is in Highland Park. There's a tremendous amount of traffic. And closing a major road really does distribute that traffic into areas that are already heavily trafficked, like 2nd Avenue, Valentine Avenue, Valentine Road. Is it Avenue or Road?
Street.
Street. Oh, that's another word. Okay. So Valentine Street. but you can see the amount of people that will be crossing on Valentine will be increased. You can see that the number of people that will be using Second Avenue to enter the park will be increased. And I just wonder, I feel that the most important thing is to study that first before closing any avenue in Highland Park. But I may be ignorant as to what's gone on already, what studies have been done. I looked on the site, but I haven't seen anything referring to that. So if there is one, I'd like to know what it is.
One of the things I know the chief has the police do on a frequent basis is do traffic, looking at traffic on different streets throughout town. And Chief, I don't recall when the last time we looked at Valentine.
I couldn't tell you the last time we looked at Valentine. We have the traffic count went out.
Right.
That'll give us, over the course of the week, how many cars go by.
Right.
Average speed, high speed, low speed.
Right.
Kind of give us a clue there. It's not predictive, it's immediate, it's right now.
Right.
But I don't remember. We've been using it for almost 4 years now. I don't know when the last time we got it. So it's on the app.
So it might be interesting to get that information together so that we can address some of the things that are being raised.
Just to follow up, one last question is, how was Third Avenue chosen? What was the decision to close that avenue as opposed to finding alternate spaces?
Okay, so Terry, I see you looking.
I'm going to give another plug to the FAQ, because that's, I think, the first or second question on it, but I'm not pinging you for not knowing it doesn't exist. But essentially, as I think Mr. Spool mentioned earlier in his comments, we have been talking even beyond the 2019 plan about more public space downtown. The original kind of iterations of our downtown redevelopment plan that was adopted in 2021 had North Third actually identified, and after going through that process, and some concerns were raised about through that process, and frankly, because of the success of South Third during the pandemic and how well utilized and loved it was, even given all its faults.
Well, I don't know.
Well, not universally, but is anything universally? Can we
heard a tremendous
okay, find one thing we can all agree on right now. Okay, so but the bottom line is, these are the factors that went into the decision making that ultimately led us to that location. But that's the best. I was only looking because I was all excited it was in the FAQ. But it isn't like it wasn't a scientific process. It was we did it through iterations of discussions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think I just realized I'm usually the one who says the stop time on the first public comment. I think that was.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah.
Okay, so Terry also just reminded me we've reached the limit of the first public comment session. So if anyone has anything else they want to say, please hold on till the next comment session, which is coming up.
The pedestrian mall has a public hearing.
If you're talking about the pedestrian mall,
Yes.
there is a public hearing that comes with the ordinance on that specific topic. Okay, so just hold tight for a couple of minutes. Thank you.
I'm actually following up on some of the comments they made.
Okay, and it's coming up right now, as a matter of fact, so you'll hear me call for, is there any public comment on this? So just give me 1 minute. Okay. All right, so we're moving on to the ordinances. Okay. Okay, ordinances requiring a second reading. Clerk, could you please report on advertising the ordinance establishing a pedestrian mall on South Third Avenue at Raritan Avenue for consideration of passage on final reading by title?
An ordinance establishing a pedestrian mall on South Third Avenue pursuant to NJSA 40:56-65 in the Borough of Highland Park, County of Middlesex, New Jersey, was duly advertised for consideration of passage on final reading by title, and affidavits of publication are on file. The ordinance was also posted and made available for public inspection as required by law.
Okay. May I have a motion to take up the ordinance on final reading by title?
So moved.
Second.
Public hearing. You may now come and talk to us about your comments.
I didn't come planning to speak, but there's a concern that.
I have to interrupt you 1 second.
I live on 35 South 3rd Avenue, corner of 3rd and Magnolia.
And your first and last name?
Oh, Michael Addis.
Okay, thank you.
And talking to my neighbors and Winston Chin and others who are involved in this process, there's I think a major concern that I don't think should, nullify the project, but one that ought to be kept in mind if it goes through, and that is sanitation. Again, garbage is raised. If you, for example, if you locate the farmer's market in addition in that area, it's going to become uninhabitable. Several of the houses in that area have rat infections, and there's all kinds of problems with that. And it becomes very expensive to deal with. But if the crucial thing is that part of the plan has to be a very, very strict control of food and what happens to garbage and the rest, or the area will become uninhabitable. Lots of children live there, lots of people live there. It could be a major problem. I actually think it's good to have an open area where the community can gather. I live just down the avenue from 3rd Avenue. I guess I'm far enough away that it didn't bother me at night, but I thought that closing it off and having people be able to have coffee and whatever to a decent hour and not have rock bands. That's another issue. We know from Pinos, when Pinos has rock bands, the noise is very, very loud. So, but I think my major concern, and the neighbors I talked to, including Ellen Chin, is sanitation, control of the food that's there.
Yeah.
And I'm very concerned about the farmer's market. I think that area is easier to control because it's so open. But once you get the houses in, including the house you bought, the house you bought at the corner, and the parking lot, it becomes a major problem for that. And the road is flooded, and we don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. Council President Phil, would you make sure that the Public Works Department is aware of this concern and address it with the Borough Administrator?
I will bring up that concern, but also note when we started with the temporary closure, one of the first things we discussed at Public Works and with the superintendent was to make sure that we got the best control that we possibly could. And it took a while to work out with that regard. I spoke to him last month when we introduced the ordinance with regard to planning. One of the things we'll hear, and I may address in my comments, is that the overall planning to actually make this a community park as opposed to something that looks like a construction zone with a couple of Jersey barriers is a planning process. Part of the planning process has all along has been access for public services, so we are aware of that. We're also instituting Raritan Avenue pickup, a more streamlined methodology which frees up crew to be able to work there. So we've already discussed that, and we'll be bringing it up again as we move forward on that.
Thank you. Any other? Oh.
Hi, Dan Stern Cardinal, 221 Harper Street. Just a couple quick comments here. First, I just want to say I'm really excited for the reopening of South 3rd eventually, whenever that happens. When it was open to pedestrians, diners, we used it all the time. My family and I, for a dinner out there, we actually had one of our daughters at Yellow Brick Road at the time, so we would pick her up, have dinner right there. It was always really nice. Just a couple quick things. I think reading the master plan, this is very much consistent with the master plan. This proposed space is much larger than any permanent pedestrian area that we have in town, so that'll be a big improvement. It'll contribute significantly to the safety of pedestrians around that area by removing possible car movements at the intersection with 27 and also slowing down traffic on 3rd. In our type of dense road grid, Highland Park is really nice because it's an old grid pattern instead of like the kind of swoopy suburban sprawl pattern. So we're really well positioned to handle that, kind of redirected traffic one block around. And I'll just say, as a parent with a child at Yellow Brick Road, both when it was the pedestrian plaza and not, it was a million times easier and safer, both on foot and by car, when the plaza was there compared to when 3rd was restricted to just car traffic going through. It was so much easier logistically when the tables were there. And then the last thing is I just want to thank Councilman Hale for something he said in his report. You mentioned like a conference or something about public planning and kind of downtown design. And it makes me really happy to hear that Highland Park is trying to follow the best practices. There's a lot of research behind a lot of this, like opening up pedestrian zones, a lot of different things that Highland Park has been doing, the mixed use along the main road. These are all the best practices when it comes to building a vibrant and safe for pedestrians downtown. So it's really nice to hear that we're following those guidelines, so thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Peter Spool again. So I just want to differ with Mr. Cardinal on 2 points. One is he didn't need the tables to be in the street to enjoy eating there. There's still lots of tables on the sidewalk. It's a wide sidewalk. It's enough. Second, it won't be safer. In fact, I need to remind the council that there was a woman crossing who was struck by a car that was turning and broke her hip. So I think because the street being closed, people who are turning, particularly left, don't always seem to be as careful. They're not expecting a car coming straight at them. So taking a left turn, they don't have to be as alert. And that's why I suspect this woman was struck and broke her hip. You may see more of that.
Okay, any other public comment? All right.
Diane Hoffman again, 58 Harrison. I just want to make a comment about traffic studies. It's very difficult to do a traffic study in Highland Park because different seasons have different traffic patterns. So I just want to request that any traffic study that eventually is done by the police department or whomever does it, is done objectively, different seasons of the year, and under different circumstances so that we get a real reflection of traffic patterns.
Yeah, to add to that, Diane, there is rush hour traffic that passes through town in the morning and evening. All right, any other public comment on the ordinance? Okay, seeing none. May I have a motion to adopt or reject this resolution and advertise the ordinance on final reading by title?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Just a brief comment, as I've shared with Councilman Hale a number of times. I'm in favor of this. I think we need to move forward. I think that the town needs to move forward in many ways, and this is a start. One of the recent books I read and I shared with Councilman Hale is Jim Fallows, the MSNBC contributor, who spent 10 years traveling about with his wife and wrote Our Towns. 3 fundamental requirements for any town that's going down the tubes and wants to revitalize itself, and it's not a major city or it's in between 2 suburban areas. One is to have water, a river nearby, or a pond or a lake. One is to have an area to walk, and the third is to have public space. And many towns are doing this, and we all have our controversies. One of my concerns is that it just doesn't turn into a parking lot with Jersey barriers around it. That eventually it becomes part of a plan. It's well organized. I've said before, I'd like to see it landscaped as soon as possible and become something usable and really become a public square. That being said, I'm in favor of it because we have to start, and we have to start many things in Highland Park. We need to move forward with these things and revitalize our town in many ways. There are a lot of good things going on, but there are also a lot of things that if we don't catch them and we don't start to work on them, and these are long-term plans. They're not done in 90 days. They're not done like ordering a bunch of toters and waiting 6 weeks. They can take years. And as someone who's been involved in redevelopment for 20-some years in my firm, they take years and years to do sometimes. And also, we talk about studies and we talk about traffic studies, but DOT has to approve this. And they require all those things. And they do their own drill down, which I'm valuing, because if they say we don't think it'll work, then DOT calls the shots. But I think that they're going to tell us a good way to do it. They're going to be supervising to the extent that we submit plans to them. So I think that there's a lot more input yet to come on the project. Then I vote yes.
Councilman Hale?
So I'd just like also to point out that the Our Towns book has been made into an Our Towns movie, and they're both very good, and they both represent the idea of revitalizing small towns like ours. And I think that this plaza is a fantastic first step to this. As we've talked about tonight, this is the first start of a process. This is a planning process where we will go through detail after detail with the DOT, with the public, with all of the actors involved, to make sure that this is the best public plaza in the state of New Jersey, not just the best in Highland Park, but our goal is to make this a fantastic place that we can all be proud of. And we'll continue to work on that, and we'll continue to take the great advice. Tonight, having a sanitation plan, obviously we had talked about that, but it reiterated that. Hearing about signage, that's another. Those are things that we've thought about or talked about, but it's great to hear those voices again. And traffic, of course. And so those voices are still going to be coming as we go through the rest of this process. But this is a fantastic opportunity for us, along with redevelopment. It's a lock and key that they work together. And so I think this is a great thing for the borough to be doing. I think it is opening up a public plaza in a place where you don't have a lot of space to do that. And so I think that's a fantastic goal, and I wholeheartedly support this. Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch.
Yes, and I really appreciate everybody's feedback. We're going to take it seriously, and we're going and we're going to follow up as well. So thank you. And I think we voted on this 3 times now, so I really support it.
Is that the last council person? Thank you. All right, we're moving on to ordinances requiring a first reading. Clerk, could you please report on introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 303 Property Maintenance to add Article 5 lead-based paint inspection for consideration of passage on first reading by title?
An ordinance of the Borough of Highland Park, Middlesex County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 303 Property Maintenance to add Article 5 titled Lead-Based Paint Inspection has been introduced in writing by the Economic Development Planning Committee for consideration of passage on first reading by title.
Okay, may I have a motion to adopt or reject? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sorry, I know. And I'm sorry Peter Spool left because he caught a typo that I wanted to make sure the clarification was made on page 4 of the ordinance under fees for inspection. There shall be a fee of $125, but the spelled out says 200. It's from an earlier version. It's 125, just to clarify for the record that was the intent when we put that together.
So the numeric number is 125?
The numeric number is correct. The spell out is incorrect, and I apologize for that error.
Okay. All right. And so, motion to adopt or reject and advertise the ordinance on first reading by title.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman George.
Yes.
Councilman Hale.
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch.
Yes.
Okay, clerk, could you please report on introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 321 concerning rent control regulations for consideration of passage on first reading by title?
An ordinance by the Borough of Highland Park concerning rent control regulations and amending Chapter 321 of the Code of the Borough of Highland Park has been introduced in writing by the Economic Development and Planning Committee for consideration of passage on first reading by title.
Mayor, may I raise a point of order with regard to the ordinance just briefly? In Article 2, Section 321(5)(c), it reads that the sentence, upon the vacancy and rental of an apartment in a dwelling in accordance with the procedures set forth in subsections A and B above, the apartment shall be removed permanently. I had a conversation with the borough administrator and the borough attorney with regard to the word permanently. I think that's to be struck, but I would ask council, would that require any kind of republication or redoing, or we just have to strike permanently?
No, Mr. President, this is on introduction, so my recommendation would be that we make that change and we delete the word permanently, which appears on page 6 of the ordinance, and then we would introduce it with that change. And the other change I mentioned earlier was on the recommendation of the administrator. On the last page, we would say that the ordinance would take effect upon its passage and publication as provided for by law. And if the council was to adopt the ordinance at the next and last meeting of the year on the 20th, I believe the clerk would thereafter publish it, and that would give us a week or so for residents, tenants, and landlords to begin to gear up to comply with the ordinance. So that would be the other change, just delete the January 1, 2023, and we'll just end the sentence to say, upon passage and publication as provided for by law.
Thank you, sir. So then the motion would be with the ordinance as amended, striking the permanently and changing the effective.
Correct. Those are the two changes I'd recommend before the public hearing, and we could publish that way.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for the point of order.
Okay. Is it gone?
Is Phil making that motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Yes.
Okay, we're moving on to the consent agenda items. These are resolutions. May I have a motion to adopt or reject items 14A through 14F?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Follow those idling ordinances, taxi drivers, yes.
The following are resolutions that require a separate reading. May I have a motion to adopt or reject the resolution to approve budget transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Canavera?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hale?
Yes.
Councilmember Hirsch?
Yes.
All right, so we're now moving into the second public participation. Each speaker has 3 minutes, but may comment on any topic. The borough clerk will monitor the time and will offer a 30-second warning and then indicate when 3 minutes has lapsed. The session will wrap up by 9 p.m. The borough clerk will monitor the time and indicate when 3 minutes has lapsed. She will give you a warning when 30 seconds are remaining. There will be a hard stop at the 3-minute mark to make sure everyone has time to speak. As a reminder, I may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement if it does not adhere to the 3 minutes provided, or if the statement is disruptive to the orderly conduct of this public meeting, is repetitive, or not a topic that is relevant to the borough governing body. If you have any comments or questions, please announce your name and address for the record and speak into the microphone when you come up. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Dan Stern, Cardinal, 221 Harper Street. Just very brief comments. People could bring up traffic flow patterns related to the pedestrian plaza on South 3rd. It feels like a lifetime ago, but before the pandemic, we were talking about a biking and cycling, or walking and cycling plan for the town. And one component of that town was tweaking the south side so that Magnolia and Benno were one way in opposite directions. That would go a long way towards alleviating any kind of displaced traffic, because it would mean that instead of everyone going towards the same place, depending on which direction you were going, you were split into blocks. So, I mean, I know we got kind of interrupted by more important things when that plan. One of the last public meetings I came to before the pandemic, I think, was on that topic. So we kind of got interrupted by more important things. But revisiting that in the context of traffic flow to the pedestrian plaza, I think would be a good idea.
Thank you, Dan.
I just want to add that in my earlier report this evening, I said that public safety was going to be looking, I've been receiving a lot of emails from folks with traffic concerns. And one of the things that we have on our meeting schedule for next week is to look at all of this and the pedestrian safety and bike plan. And I will be following back up with everyone once the meeting is concluded.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Okay, any other public comment? Seeing none, Council will be taking, do you want a recess? Let me ask you. Anybody want a 5-minute recess? Yes? Okay, so we're going to take 5 minutes before we go into work session. And we'll be moving into the working area down there. You hear me? I almost passed this over to you, but
that's why I never reached over anything, but I was watching.
Oh.
Okay, these are some.
You don't have to move down there unless we thought that's what you wanted.
Well, if we have the chairs, do we have chairs?
We're going to move these down, that's why we need the recess.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's go down there.
I'm only taking notes.
Okay, thank you.
You weren't on the council.
I remember when we did this, but I mean.
No, we took them from this side.
Oh, that explains why I can't get it out there.
No, if I take them from that side, I have to lift them up.
Oh, no, we don't want that. We're relocating for chairs.
To the chamber.
We're gonna get new furniture for in here so everything rolls.
It's easier for me to use
It's
this.
a substitute, right? Okay. Hope you weren't mad at me for that, to be honest. From the neighbor. I think I thought I was just That's all. That's true, I can do that.
That enough to this one?
We're good, we don't need to trust, that's the whole mess.
We're good? We're good?
We're good.
Hey, Phil. Phil. Ed, someone left him $1.
Usually,
Phil, come on, you can do better than
well,
that.
you put your invoice in, right?
Whatever, they just got a picture of that, so looks like you're on the tape.
No, I pulled my handkerchief out and get my change from lunchtime. I didn't drop my lottery tickets though.
Don't lose that.
Usually it's booming cold air.
Yeah.
Tonight it's booming hot air. It's like, which fits
I
again,
know,
this
my
stupid
face
thing.
feels a little
It is a little flushed. The heat's going.
No, you're thinking of Rob
Sailor
Rockford. But Bob Rockford used to work at Borough. I don't know if he still does. So he's not, but he's, every time I see him on the phone, I'm like, I felt like saying, asleep at the school. I mean, he said, oh, I might be a little late. I'm like, this is
Like
like,
chair.
I know.
We're fine, Dale.
So I just said call him. And if he gives me a hard time,
Have him call me.
I'll have him call me.
Yeah, let's just.
But I'll just try, but I'm just like, I wasn't trying to make a whole thing, but I was just like, I'm like, I couldn't even, I was like, his neighbors would run him out of town. I was telling him that, I go, you are in the minority on this, my friend.
Can you imagine? Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
No, I said, he's 17 years old. He's not a good actor. How is he going to follow through on
So
it?
talk him down, tell him the
Well, I
history.
couldn't believe it either. And your reaction was just what I needed because I was just like, what am I doing? I'm like,
What am I doing?
I just want to point out, I was prosecuted here from 2001
on my list,
to
I got to be fair.
2009. And it's still broken.
You're the woodworker.
Terry, silly.
I'm going to bring some type on it.
No,
But this was broken when I was
so my dad is a woodworker too, so whenever he comes to our house, I'm like, these chairs are broken.
They do
So I have all this type on in my house, so I should just bring it in and do it. No, we want to get, we're going to get people that actually know that we're going to get woodwork chairs. But I just kind of waited to the year end to see how our, how my budget was.
That mic doesn't sound good.
So that mic is a problem, right?
Phil, so you know this give you a call to talk about the startup again of these cannabis reviews and perhaps a change up here on the dates that you may be familiar with. Okay.
But I think where is that machine needed?
Right, I talked to her today. So she's up to speed about what she wants to talk to you about. But my question, maybe you could think about it, and that is that if her conversation with you is one that indicates that she's probably not going to continue.
You're right. I never agreed with
Was
you.
doing bad stuff before the end. Do you think
I'm not touching.
would that influence your colleagues up there to say, okay, we can still leave that
Right,
property
5 minutes
in,
is up.
there's no public official that's still involved anymore? Well, Terry kind of thought that there were a number of
She went to the
colleagues that felt so strongly about this issue.
And one of the things is the administration goes forward with the recommendation that presents it to council. The council votes to follow
Oh, yeah, if, on the merits, if that happens, she goes down, right. But I'm prepared, and I think you're a municipal attorney too, and I'm prepared to explain that if you're a government official and they want to bring the change made, then there's no conflict, and therefore we could leave them. We told them to go find another spot, they haven't found another spot.
And they consider it on the merits.
Right, exactly. I'm confident that the review team will do that and make a recommendation up to Terry and then to you. I'd be happy to share that. Terry was just concerned, even if you did, other members of the council, for them, when this application comes up. Yeah, I agree. That's what I'm talking about.
I think we're both absolutely.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with it. Let it score. We're gonna do 5 and do 6 that are out. And we got it right. And I have no problem with that. But I do think that
Conflict is good.
okay, good. Well, we don't need to.
I think it's real clear.
Okay, everyone,
Yeah.
So,
everybody,
tomorrow's really good. In the afternoon on the way up to Paris.
everybody,
Okay, let's talk
please
about
take your
that. And
seats.
then I'll catch you then.
Elsie, Phil,
I'm sorry, I'm here.
Yep.
And so maybe we could do something of Main Street minute and get her highlighted. I don't know, I just found out.
Good night.
My husband has this, it's a cheap version that he got for a Halloween costume. That's the closest he can.
I would look like Gone with the Wind, you know, making the curtain.
we're now moving into our work session.
Hirsch. Oh, sorry.
Is Tammy here? Yes. Tammy is here to give us a presentation by HP Gives a Hoot. Could you come up?
Where would you like me?
Well, if you're going to be speaking, I would say at the microphone.
So is it here some microphones,
We'll sit over here at the small table.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I'm Camera, also known as Cammie Russo, at 119 Harper Street in Highland Park. As many of you have probably heard of HP Gives a Hoot, or Highland Park Gives a Hoot. We were a nonprofit created by our mayor and the council back in 2016 with a mission to contribute to the well-being of the children within the Highland Park community. Some of the main activities that we do that a lot of people might not be aware of is in addition to the supply of grocery distribution at the Borough Teen Center on Benner Street Tuesday mornings from 10 to 11. We also sponsor camp scholarships throughout through the Borough Recreation Department for summer camp programs. We sponsor school care closets, providing personal products and takeaway food to any student as needed. We also provide a weekend backpack program where right now we're exploring this to provide food over the days when the school is closed to ensure that all of our students and populations are fed and served. Additionally, we also deal with ad hoc requests, including summer basketball registration fees and other opportunities for our youth in need. Our primary sources of funding come from Replenish of Middlesex County, based out of East Brunswick, which is a provider to soup kitchens and food pantries. And currently they provide us about $35,000 worth of goods annually, which provides 50 to 100 carloads of groceries for our local community. In addition, we receive an annual community development block grant from the state, and right now we have to reapply for that, I believe, on an annual basis, so we're not guaranteed that funding. Additionally, we receive about $6,000 in annual donations from the public on an annual basis, and we currently use that money to also purchase groceries for our community need on a weekly basis. As many of you know, we do partner with the Highland Park Community Food Pantry, which serves over 150 families twice a month at the community center, and they refer food donors to who. One of the questions that a lot of people ask us is the difference between HP Gives a Hoot and the food pantry, and why finding we need both, essentially. One of the things that is different about food is that we provide our services on an anonymous basis. So this allows for underprivileged families to come to us and receive our services with an anonymity, which makes them feel comfortable in the services that we provide to them. So also we work, as I mentioned previously, at offering things aside from food to people where the community food pantry currently just works with food. So we provide other hygienic products and other needs to children throughout our community. And right now we're working with Brooke Valdezone from the Special Projects Board of Education and Jason Richardson, the Vice President of Highland Park High School, to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students that we can throughout the community. One of the important things I think that's worth mentioning recently, as many of you have been paying attention to the news, is right now, this year, there has been a 42% increase in families served. Previously, in the prior year, we served an average of 32 families a week, and now we are serving an average of 46 families per week. With that being stated, and inflation continuously rising, at least at this point in time, we currently need more volunteers to join the commission, drivers to pick up food from Replenish in East Brunswick on Tuesday mornings, and also the assistants at the Teen Center to assist Ashton Burwell, our Teen Center director, to help stack shelves, bag groceries, and deliver to local clients. So with all of that being stated, I think we also are working to promote our services to the community, and particularly those that don't have internet access. So we had put flyers and door hangers throughout the community on their doors, and then also have biannual mailings as well that we send out to our community. And right now, as many of you heard in our meeting this evening, there are concerns recently with the Stop and Shop closing, but we're talking about ways to help get through that transition at our next meeting later this month, including the possible need of providing grocery delivery from other Stop and Stop locations to our communities here and being able to meet that need. So that's something that's not currently being discussed at this meeting, but is something that we are going to bring up to make sure that we're able to continuously meet everyone's needs throughout the community. So with all of that, I'm happy to take any questions about the services that we provide or involvement, and also just want to thank all of you on the council, as well as our current volunteers and partners, for all that they do to help make a difference in this community. And as you guys have seen on the agenda, specifically, we want to thank our specific drivers that we currently have, the people that assist with the distribution, the people from the Highland Park schools, people from the Highland Park Conservative Temple, as well as the Borough administrative support of Monica and Carol. So thank you all.
So, Cannon, I can't tell you how proud I am, I'm going to start crying, of the work that food has done. It's true that soon after becoming mayor, my office and Monica's office are downstairs in this building. And we saw children, little children, coming from the schools, walking into our building, down the stairs and out the back, and just hanging out. Suddenly, we started to say hello to them, and many of them came and asked us for food. So we would have some food in our offices that we would give them. That was the beginning of HP Gives a Hoot. It was those children who didn't have any place to go after school, were walking around hungry, that inspired us to start the program. And when I see how this program has grown over the years, and the work that your organization has done, it just fills my heart with joy. It's one of the things that I'm most proud of in my 14 years here. So thank you very much.
One thing I'd like to say, I'm the liaison to Gizzard, and this was not publicly mentioned because it was not food funded. However, last holiday season, a family reached out to Hoot. It was 5 members in the family who both parents lost their jobs. They were struggling. They had nothing for their family for the holidays. Obviously, Hoot couldn't give their funds, but Tammy and every member of Hoot gave me money to go shopping so that that family, none of them knew who the family was except for, I believe, Tammy or Evelyn and myself. We got all 5 members of that family holiday gifts and a holiday meal, and that came from their generous hearts. I'm crying now too. So there's a lot that they do behind the scenes with their own money and time to help our community also.
It's wonderful.
And if there is anybody else from the community that you think could benefit from our services, please let us know. I know a lot of people have a fear of volunteering themselves based on shame or other factors that they don't want to make well known, that they're utilizing some of the services we provide, but we do everything on an anonymous basis, so to make sure that they feel included and, I guess, more normal, if that makes sense. So if you guys do think of anyone, please let us know, and we're happy to help.
Thank you. Councilman Hirsch, did you have any other?
Just very basic question. What type of vehicle do you need or is recommended to
So you can have any type of vehicle. They recommend to have like a van, primarily just with the amount of groceries, but I can speak to Michael to ask about the exact amount, but typically they recommend like a van, or if you have a larger truck, to be able to get enough of the groceries to bring to the teen center.
Thank you.
Sorry, one other thing that Hoot has been doing also is from Replenish, they've been getting fresh fruits and vegetables and bringing them to our senior center, because while most of the seniors use our pantry, you can't always get a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. Hoot has been getting the fruits and vegetables and bringing it to the to the senior center so that our seniors can have fresh fruits and vegetables.
And for those of you who question how we got the name HP Gives a Hoot, the owl is our high school's mascot. Thank you again. Okay. So that was the one item we had on the work session for this evening. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 20th at 7 p.m. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.